you frequently get ear infections? I know I do. In the world of Chutasia, there is an urban legend or an old wives' tale about who causes ear infections and how they happen. Today I am going to share with you the tale of Mr Ear McEarphun, who is an urban legend from the world of Chutasia. Chutasia is an imaginary world that I have been making up since I was 9 years old. Chutasia is centered around my stuffed toy hedgehog, Chutney, and Chutasia is filled with Chutasian hedgehogs. And they have a character called Ear McEarphun who sneaks into hedgehogs' bedrooms at night and puts his sharp claws in their ears and gives them ear infections. So let's learn a bit more about the character of Ear. So Ear is, of course, a hedgehog, and he was born to two parents who were both ear scientists. But Ear himself was born without ears and deaf. So unfortunately, he wasn't well loved by his parents, and he always wanted some ears. He got very interested in science, and he decided he would craft himself his own pair of ears. But without ears of his own, Ear McEarphun didn't know what ears looked like, so he would creep into the rooms of Chutasian hedgehogs at night to study their ears, and unfortunately put his claws in them, and hedgehogs would wake up with ear infections. So as the old wives' tale goes, what should you do if you wake up in the middle of the night and you see Ear McEarphun at your bed with his claws in your ears? Well, of course, you don't scream because he's deaf and he can't hear you. Instead, you should get very strong eye contact with him because Ear McEarphun is very socially awkward. Unfortunately, he was always bullied at school for looking a bit different. He didn't have any ears. And of course, Ear always felt like an outcast because he was not really wanted by his parents and he couldn't join in the same ways that the other kids did. As Ear started his scientific training, he decided to wear exclusively black lab coats. So Ear is a creepy hedgehog creature who creeps around at night with no ears, sharp claws, and wearing a long black lab coat. However, the urban legend of Ear McEarphun has recently in Chutasia had a bit of a new bout of popularity because a new edition of the tale has been released, a romance edition of the tale of Mr Ear McEarphun. If I move this way a bit, you can see this artwork that I made, which of course it isn't from Chutasia, it's just my artwork, but I would imagine that the book cover in Chutasia looks something a bit like this, the romance edition of Ear McEarphun. Now, what is special about the romance edition of the tale of Mr Ear McEarphun is that there are 3 different endings, and the book is aimed at teenage girls, and well, teenage girl hedgehogs, don't forget, of course. And what they are able to do is they can pick the ending that they find the most romantic. It turns Ear into a kind of romantic, mysterious boyfriend type figure rather than a creepy weirdo who puts his finger in your ear. So I will read to you a little bit, this just short summary of what happens in the 3 different versions of Mr Ear McEarphun, and you can tell me in the comments which version you think is most romantic. They do get a bit more dark with every step. So let's just have a little recap that Ear is a hedgehog who was born without ears, who wants to model himself his own pair of ears, but no one will let him close to them to feel their ears. So in the first conclusion, having understood the softness in Ear's heart, the young lady hedgehog allows Ear to come close to her and to craft his own ears based off a model of her own. Finally, Ear has the ears he dreamed of and can hear his true love's sweet singing voice for the first time. Very romantic. He crafts his ears to be like that of his love's, and he can now hear her singing. So is that your preferred one? Let us know. Or would you prefer option 2? In the second ending, having fallen desperately and hopelessly in love, the young woman hedgehog gives her own ears to Ear as a transplant. she announces that having heard Ear declare his love for her, there is no other sound she needs to hear again in her life. She would give up anything for the hero of her dreams and gives him her own ears as a gift. Is that the most romantic? Let me know in the comments. Or are you more inclined to go for the third ending? In the third ending, the young woman Hedgehog is also outcast due to her association with Ear McEarphun. They become outcast together. The couple enter a downward spiral in which the young woman Hedgehog eventually cuts off her own ears in solidarity with Ear, so that they may be united forever in silence. Cast away to a dark underground lair, the hedgehog couple eventually do away with their eyes too, for there is no light to see in the dark. They live out their days surrounded only by the touch and scent of each other. Is that the most romantic version? Let me know in the comments. So, what should you do if you want to avoid Ear McEarphun visiting you in the night and giving you an ear infection? I think I need to pay attention to this section because I continuously have ear infections. I don't know why Ear McEarphun is so obsessed with my ears. So, when Chutney, some of you may be aware of the story, some of you will not, I will fill you in. When Chutney is in the village of Poxford on the island of Nosen, she sets up Chutasia's first university. And one of the things Chutney wants to study is some of the preventative methods for a visit by Ear McEarphun. So what can we do to stop him from putting his claws in your ears? And Chutney comes up with an invention that she calls ear bells. And the invention is a little bell that you tie to your ear, so that if Ear tries to put his claw in your ear, it'll ring and you'll wake up. And then, of course, you remember you don't scream because he can't hear you. You just get really strong eye contact with Ear and you go away. And eventually he gets scared by the eye contact and he goes away. So that is the concept of ear bells. So they ring when Ear puts his claw in your ear. So Chutney, as professor in the University of Poxford in Nosen, she did a little study about ear bells and how effective they were. And I will just read from the study. A study of one participant during a 5-day period found that no infections or encounters with Mr Ear McEarphun occurred during the ear bell period. This appears to show that ear bells not only prevent an infection from occurring, but also reduce the chances of being visited by Ear McEarphun. So anyone who's scientific amongst us can judge how successful that trial was. Basically, in the 5 days that Chutney wore the ear bells, she didn't see Mr Ear McEarphun, so that must mean that the ear bells work, right? But what Chutney did find, continuing reading from this little bit of writing, is that unfortunately there was a high positive rate. By that we mean that Chutney often heard the ear bells ringing, woke up and then discovered Ear McEarphun wasn't there, it was just her turning over in her sleep. So the invention of ear bells needs a little bit of tweaking to reduce the false positive rate. We only want to be woken up when Ear McEarphun is around. So let's talk a little bit about the invention and the manufacture of the ear bells, because Chutney was not working alone. Although the invention was her own and the study was her own, she had some help from some royal guards. So when Chutney is in Nosen, it's at a period of time when the royal family, because Chutney is the Princess of Chutasia, sorry for anyone who's new, you'll have to watch some of the other videos to get caught up. Chutney is a Princess of Chutasia and the royals have left their palace because it's not safe, and they're taking a bit of a time out in a more safe camp in Nosen. And so there are some royal guards who Chutney befriends to help with the ear bell project. The first guard is called Diarina, and Diarina helps the ear bell project by, she's walking along a street in Nosen and she notices a tin can on the floor, some rubbish on the floor, and she thinks, I think we can use tin cans to make ear bells. So a bit of, recycling, a little bit of reusing waste materials. And so Diarina takes the tin cans that she collects to her royal guard colleague, who is called Constipatio Jr. And Constipatio Jr. takes the tin cans to his father, Constipatio Sr., who is a master craftsman, and Constipatio Sr. Crafts from the tin cans some ear bells. And the three of them start a little company making ear bells in Nosen, and they have become millionaires. Basically, they become millionaires. So Chutney, although Chutney hasn't finished kind of proving the scientific use of the ear bells, this is now the #1 export from the island of Nosen, because hedgehogs all over Chutasia can't wait to get their hands on some ear bells to reduce their visits by Mr Ear McEarphun. So that is how you can avoid an ear infection in Chutasia. So if you enjoyed this video, do check out my playlist to learn more about the islands of Chutasia. I've also uploaded the story of Father Hog, who is another legendary figure that you might enjoy. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Bye bye.